My friendship with Julia started like 3 years ago when we first met.
Actually, mine with her started over a decade ago.
My friendship with Julia. Okay, well, it doesn't really matter how many years.
Bridesmaids.
It's not the amount of years, but actually.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Miami, Season 7, Episode 4. And before we get started, I know I said that I would not be watching Miami anymore. I was done after what Julia did to Gertie, but because my curiosity got the best of me, I said, let me just tune in and see the aftermath of what happened because I have to know. Now, Julia and Martina, I hope you know that I'm about to wear the both of y'all out from beginning, middle, and end. Y'all both tried it.
No. And you're gonna always get it again and again and again.
And bravo, I just have to ask y'all, does this make sense to keep Julia on? Julia brings nothing. She's not interesting. She doesn't know how to dress. She gives Sutton Strack a run for her money when it comes to no style and frumpy clothes. But yeah, Julia was never that girl, never will be that girl. And the fact that we have to watch her on our screens week after week and then play the victim, it's really upsetting me and my homegirls because we don't want to see her. But yeah, sit tight, get a snack, grab a drink, whatever you want to get comfortable, because I'm going in. I'm not sparing Julia's feelings. I don't want to hear in the comments that I'm being too mean. I'm giving you guys my thoughts. And I don't like Julia, and it is what it is. Now, the new housewife, Stephanie, we see the private jets, the Chanel, the Birkins. She's a straight shooter. She's not here for the BS. I like that in a housewife. But I will say, as cool as Stephanie seems so far, I'm still missing my fave, Dr. Nicole. I don't think that Stephanie will be able to fill that void, but we shall see. But without further ado, let's get right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. Now, bravo, y'all had me completely messed up because why are we opening up this episode with Julia singing? First of all, I don't like Julia. Second of all, she can't sing. And I thought that this whole opera storyline was over and done with last season. The vocals aren't there. The mic is not on. I don't want to hear her. I barely want to see her. What are we doing? The vocal teacher goes on to ask her, how is she feeling? And the way I wanted to jump through the screen, because Julia gives this performance, the fake tears come out, and she said, oh my gosh, I'm just so upset. Last night was crazy. Recently, one of the women in my friend group threw something back in my face, and then all of a sudden some water just splashed out of nowhere. I said, hold on. Let's back up for a minute. First of all, Gertie clocked you, rightfully so, because you assaulted her. Let's start there. I'm gonna tell you just like this. If you physically harm me, I'm saying whatever I want about you. There is no limit to how low I will go. So Gertie clocking you about you were out there in Paris zipping it and zooing it while Martina's getting radiation treatments for her cancer. Gertie got you where it hurt because again, you had no right to throw that water on her. Now y'all know that recaps where I have to really whack and go in on the girls gets me a bit hungry. So today's recap is brought to you by Every Plate. Think you have to spend big bucks or tons of time in the kitchen to make delicious food at home? Think again. When you use Every Plate, you get restaurant level, mouth-watering deliciousness week after week with recipes like the crispy buffalo ranch chicken and the creamy tomato and pork sausage linguine with garlic bread. You are in for a treat. Now guys, my mouth is watering as we speak, but let me tell you guys, the other day, Every Plate sent me the super smash burgers. Oh my gosh, I love a good burger. The burger was so juicy with the caramelized onions, the chipotle aioli sauce, and the potato wedges. I was in heaven. And I'm sure you guys hear my mouth watering as I'm talking. With Every Plate, you'll spend less on these flavor-packed homemade meals than you would on your normal groceries or at a restaurant. Do you feel like you're cooking the same things over and over? Up your dinner game in 30 minutes or less with Every Plate's clear, easy to follow recipes. And let me tell you guys, those recipes are so easy to follow and your meal is going to be delicious. And thanks to Every Plate's constantly rotating weekly recipes delivered right to your door, you'll always have the best answer to what's for dinner. And another reason why I love Every Plate, because I do need variety, and with the constant changes in the meals, it always feels like a surprise when I see the new menu. What are you waiting for? Dig into these flavor-packed meals your household will love. New customers can enjoy this special offer of only $1.99 a meal. Go to everyplate.com/podcast and use code Brooke199 to get started. Applied as discount on first box, limited time only. And then for you to act like, oh, the water just, splashed on her. I didn't mean for that to happen. Let's tell the truth. You threw that water straight in Gertie's face. I said, y'all have 2 seconds to get Julia off of my screen. And I know that I'm super animated right now, but I was just so pissed watching Julia sit up there and play the victim. Just knowing that had Gertie defended herself and had she thrown a drink back at Julia, or if she had slapped Julia, the cast would have turned on Gertie. They would have acted like she was the aggressor. It's a lose-lose situation when you happen to be the only chocolate chip in the cookie on these shows. But the audacity and the unmitigated gall for you to sit your narrow behind up here on this screen and act like Gertie did something to you. Julia is such a loser. This is loser and weirdo and Karen behavior. How dare you? And for you to sit up there and lie to your vocal coach about what happened and then saying, oh, I feel better. This was therapy and music all in one. I said, girl, shut up. Therapy for who? You lied about what happened just now. And on top of that, you can't sing. So this whole music thing, I don't know about that. Those vocals are shot and we don't want to hear your voice. I barely want to hear you speak, much less sing.
No.
Now we jump on over to Gertie. She's at home. She's decorating for Halloween. It's her youngest son's favorite holiday and she's excited. But anyhow, Guerdy and Russell sit down to talk about what went down. And shout out to Russell. I think that he's one of the best house husbands across all the franchises. He's handsome. They've been married for a long time. There's respect, there's love, there's kindness. Like, he really stands by Gertie and we love to see it. So when Russell said, picturing this big, tall woman standing over you is upsetting, I said, whack her again. Get her for me.
I'm gonna just scoot on over and let you whack him. Get him again. Get him for me.
Standing over somebody during a heated argument, that's a violation already. If I'm sitting down, I need you to sit your behind down too. Julia was just out of line in every way, shape, and form. There was just no reason for any of that. This whole beef is one-sided because, again, what exactly are you mad about? You just want to be mad at Gertie because you have nothing going on in your life. So now Gertie gets emotional and she's like, she violated me. She wanted to humiliate me in front of the group for their entertainment. Then she goes on to say that it was a symbolic act to make her feel like she was nothing. Now, a quick side note. I saw a few people on Twitter saying, oh, Gertie was fake crying. I didn't see the tears. Where are they? Let's not do that. The same way y'all let these white housewives and white adjacent housewives slide with their non-tears, it's okay if Gertie doesn't have the tears streaming down her face either. Y'all will be okay. Gertie was assaulted on national TV for no reason. She gets a pass from me. And like I said in my last recap, if I were Gertie, this would be my final season. Because it's obvious that the women don't like Gertie. She's not a part of the inner circle. They don't think that she's, cool enough or whatever the case is. They don't see it for her. And the money and the notoriety just isn't worth your mental health taking a beating because the women want to ice you out. They see Gertie as the odd person out. And when Gertie went on to say that she dealt with this growing up in junior high, so to deal with it again as a grown adult and how hurtful that is, I said, again, Gertie, you're not in the clique. Why subject yourself to this day in and day out? I'm sure you're clearing a few million with your career as a top event planner. You don't need this show. Some of these other women need the show, but you don't need it. You'll be good if you're off the show. But this can't be good for your mental health and your self-esteem to be iced out of the group. Now, if you thought that I was upset by the first scene with Julia, when this parallel scene rolled around with Julia and Martina at the store, and Julia is telling Martina what happened at that reception, I said, okay, so you and Martina are just asking for consistent whackings from me the entire time. Because the way my blood was boiling when Julia said, I messed up Marysol's wedding reception, I had no right to get anybody wet, I owe her dinner. I said, oh wait, where's Gertie's dinner? Because you attacked Gertie. If anybody deserves a free dinner, it's Gertie. Respectfully, I don't care too much for Miss Marysol because the way she just sat there while Gertie got that water thrown on her, didn't even check on Gertie. I don't really care too much about her reception being ruined. I care more about Miss Gertie. And Julia, what really got me was hearing you say that you're upset with yourself because you allowed Gertie to get the best of you. And I want to ask you, face to face, on what planet did Gertie get the best of you? Gertie walked away from you several times. She said, please get away from me from this. I don't like all this screaming in my face. Stop yelling at me. Stop spitting on me. You're doing too much. I'm going over here. You say over there. You chased her around that room. And then when she sat down, you stood over her. And then you threw that drink on her for no reason. So please let me know, how did Gertie get the best of you? I just said, am I in the Twilight Zone right now? What am I watching? This woman is really sitting up here making herself out to be the victim. I was floored. And you have Martina's raggedy self talk about, oh yeah, I know, that's what Gertie does. She attacks. That's her MO. I said, wait, Gertie's MO is attacking? Excuse me, come again? What? Your wife attacked Gertie, ma'am. What the F are you talking about? Julia, you are a dangerous individual, and if I were Gertie, I would have placed a restraining order against you the very next day. And then for you to say to Martina that Gertie waged war on your entire family, the way she tried to humiliate you by revealing to everybody in the group that you went to Paris while Martina was in radiation, I said, Gertie had every right to expose you because 1, you assaulted her with a drink in her face, and 2, you lied on her, so she told the truth about you. You're the one who waged war on Gertie by assaulting her. Julia, if you are at BravoCon this year, I hope that you are ready to be booed by everybody when that Miami panel comes up. And I'm going to be the loudest one booing you too, in the VIP section at that. So just be prepared. I really hope that you are ready because you are such a disgusting individual to say that you were attacked and you can't believe that she got the best of you when you threw a drink at this woman for no reason. And then when you said, you know, I sent her an apology text message and she didn't respond back to me, well, why would she? If you hit me, if you throw a drink in my face and then you send me some weak I'm sorry text the next day, first of all, your number is blocked. There is no I'm sorry about that. We're done. And the fact that you're doing this while adopting Black children does not sit right in my spirit at all. And I'm gonna leave it right there for the time being. But I need Julia and Martina to be off of my screen like yesterday. Now, this scene with them introducing the new housewife, Stephanie, it was a cute scene. I guess I don't have so much commentary. We see Larsa and Stephanie on Stephanie's private plane, and they're going to pick up Stephanie's dog from Orlando. Now, mind you, the plane ride from Miami to Orlando is only an hour. So Larsa was like, girl, who does this? Who gets a private plane to pick up a dog? But I said, well, it's Housewives. Nothing surprises me. And it makes for some good television. I did think it was funny when Larsa was like, oh, when I first met Stephanie, it was love at first sight. And then we cut to Stephanie's confessional, and Stephanie was like, I didn't really care to meet her because here I am, I'm in the south of France yachting with my husband, and now I'm added to some group chat. And then she says that when she did get to know Larsa, she thought that Larsa was funny and cool, and now they're super tight. And I said, when you have a private plane, everybody wants to be your friend. So I'm not surprised that Larsa jumped at the chance to be BFFs with Stephanie. But we find out a bit more about Stephanie. She's married to her husband, who owns the third largest real estate development company in Florida. So their money is really long, like I said. But we see them land in Orlando, and we see Stephanie's parents come out with the dog, and now they get back on the plane to head right back to Miami. Now, mind you, we do see Marysol FaceTime Larsa, and she's like, hey girl, I don't know if you know the news that just happened with Alexia and Todd. They extended the divorce. So we want to have a girls' night and just raise her spirits and invite Stephanie. So Larsa's like, okay, cool, sounds good. And I'm not going to hold you guys. When I tell y'all that I am so over this Alexia and Todd storyline, I don't have an F to give. It's not interesting, it's not interesting, and it's not interesting. Now, I was tempted to skip past this scene with Lisa at home, but I said, you know what? No, I have a few thoughts about this. We see Lisa at home. She has Marysol and Alexia come over. Mind you, Lisa's father has just passed away. I think it's been not even a week. So it's fresh. My condolences to Lisa. Now, if you've been watching Miami since the beginning, then you know that Lisa had a very troubled childhood. When Lisa said her dad's passing showed her that you have to forgive your parents and you can't hold grudges, let me just say, I don't like how the onus to reconciliation with the deadbeat parent is on the child. Lisa, I understand that you wish that you had more time with your dad, but you shouldn't feel bad if you were angry for all those years. If he was a deadbeat who walked out on you and your mom and your siblings, if you had any, you have the right to be upset. I just don't like that sentiment that a parent deserves all this respect and grace because they're the parent. No, if they were a bad parent, the kid has every right to go no contact and say, I don't want you in my life. And I know that you might say, well, Brooke, you can't relate. And I know that, but still, I do have a soft spot for anybody who did grow up with parents who weren't present or parents who, were horrible to them. I just don't think that it's fair to act like the kid has to forgive and let the parent in their life if the parent wasn't there. I understand forgiveness is for you, and I understand that it is good and healthy to forgive, but forgiveness does not mean reconnection. You can forgive somebody and still not want them in your space. Just my 2 cents. So now they start talking about Marysol's reception, and Lisa's like, how was it? And Marysol says, girl, we'll talk more when Alexia gets here. So now Alexia finally arrives with flowers, and now they sit down to talk about what went down at Marysol's reception. So Marysol says, well, first, Larsa was recapping the whole Milan trip, and she said that Gertie was super hyped up, that his eyes got really big and crazy. And Lisa's like, wait, what? Are you serious? What does that mean? So now Marysol goes on to tell Lisa how Larsa told the group that he's controlling Lisa, and at one point he was yelling in Larsa's face. And Lisa's like, that never happened. She is such a liar. Like, I can't believe this. Now, if I have to be honest, I really don't care about this whole Lisa and Larsa beef. Full stop. I find Lisa and Larsa to be insufferable and both very self-centered, especially Lisa. I mean, I think that Lisa and Alexia rank for first place when it comes to the most self-absorbed and self-centered. It's always about Lisa. And the fact that Lisa is always late to events, it just shows a lack of respect for people's time. It just gives me very much, it's always all about her. So I don't really have a dog in this fight. I don't feel any way about Lisa and Larsa going at it. I'm on nobody's side because, like I just said, I really don't care. But we do jump over to Larsa. She's on FaceTime with her friend Jack, And they're also talking about what happened in Milan. So Larsa says, you know, I do think that Jody is a social climber. He's very controlling. He's always in her business. And I just said, Larsa, for you to call anybody a social climber is comical. The way you were pressed to be friends with Stephanie, girl, stop. Where was all this concern about Jody being so controlling when you and Lisa were friends? Now all of a sudden when you and Lisa fall out, now you can't stand her man, now he's this and that? You didn't see these red flags before? Like, I'm just not buying it. Again, I just don't care that much. We can move right on along. Now, we do find out from Lisa that she did send Larsa a picture of her dead father in the casket. I said, oh my gosh. I said, ooh, Lisa, that's a lot to send somebody. I understand that your feelings are hurt and you're beefing with Larsa, but my God, we're skipping right past this scene with Kiki picking up her deadbeat father from the airport. I was so annoyed by that when Kiki said that despite him kicking her out at 15 because she was modeling, her family urged her to forgive him and reconcile because that's her dad. I said, okay. And her dad didn't treat her right. Her dad kicked her out the house for no reason. Had her over there homeless, wondering what she was going to do with her life. But she has to forgive him and reconcile with him? Absolutely not. And also, has Kiki's father ever apologized? I'll wait. I don't think that that's fair that deadbeat parents get to come in there and say, oh, well, I'm still your parent. No. God bless Kiki, but yeah, I had no interest in that scene whatsoever. And what really blows me is the fact that a lot of these deadbeat parents come back years later and they have their hand out. Just a mess. So now we see the women having a ladies' night. We see Marysol, Larsa, Stephanie, and Julia, and they're waiting for Alexia. So in the meantime, we see the women ordering their drinks. And Marysol, I want to just hold your hand when I say this, but stop trying to make fetch happen when it comes to calling cocktails cocks and cockies. We heard you the first time. It didn't catch on. Nobody says it. When you went on to say that everybody in the world knows your cock, referring to your cocktail order, I'm just like, baby girl, let it go. My God. Marysol has always given me desperado, try hard energy, and it's no shade. But she wants to be this iconic housewife so bad. Now, remember how I clocked the girls about the social climbing just a few minutes ago? Can we talk about how desperate Julia was to be next to Stephanie? Because the way she was just in awe when Stephanie walked in, I said, oh girl, pick your jaw up off the floor. Julia wanted to jump into Stephanie's skin. And the way she got so giddy when Stephanie said, oh my gosh, my husband loves your wife. He loves Martina real bad. And that's the only woman that he's allowed to love besides me. And Julia was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, I said, oh girl, again, sit down, relax, take a beat. So now we find out a bit more about Stephanie. She's in an age gap marriage. She was 26 when she met her husband when he was 50. So she says at first she was not trying to be seen with an old man. And I said, girl, money talks, BS walks. You saw that bank account though, and you say, you know what, let me hop on board. But Stephanie goes on to say that from a young age, she always knew that she wanted to be filthy rich. I said, Stephanie, you and I are right here. Yes, yes. So anyhow, we find out that they don't have children. Stephanie says that at one point she thought that she wanted to have kids, but she doesn't have the time to change a diaper. So yeah, she's child-free and she's cool with it. But despite the wealth, she did grow up on a farm. She says that she used to put her finger up a chicken's butt. She would castrate bulls. So she's very well-rounded. So now she goes on to say that for 3 months out the year, she lived in Colombia, but she was born and raised in Miami. And then we find out that her and Marysol were born in the same hospital. Now, mind you, Julia starts talking about the babies that she just adopted. And then she brings up the baby shower that Adriana's hosting for her and Martina, and she wants Stephanie there. And I said, I'm sure you do. Now, mind you, they're still waiting for Alexia, and they're like, where is she? So Stephanie interrupts and she says, may I tell you guys something? Can I give you guys my biggest pet peeve? I cannot stand people who are late. And I said, again, Stephanie, you and I are right here, because if you want to piss me off, be late. I understand that things happen. Traffic can be crazy. I'll give you a grace period of like 15 minutes. But when you have me waiting for you for 30 minutes, an hour, that's when we have a problem. That's when it's like, oh, okay, so it's really F me then. You don't care about my time whatsoever. Be on time. If I'm able to be on time, you can be on time too. Get ready earlier. So Marysol's like, look, one thing about Alexia is always very prompt. She's always on time. This is not like her. Something obviously happened. And Larsa jumps in and says, oh yeah, she's probably having sex with Todd. And just as Larsa said that, Marysol gets a text from Alexia saying that she's in bed with a migraine and she's not going to make it. So they're all like, oh, okay, yeah, she's with Todd. So now we get to the final scene of the episode, and it's the day of Julia and Martina's baby shower that's being hosted by Adriana. So Julia and Miss Julia, I have to just whack you again. Because when Adriana told us in her confessional that you called her up the day before the baby shower and requested to have Stephanie sit next to her, I said, come again? Excuse me? And even Adriana was insulted. She said, no, I'm your best friend and I'm the one throwing you this shower. So the only one sitting next to you is me. And rightfully so. And Adriana is a lot better than I am, because Julia, I would have cursed you out over that phone. Julia is a loser. Like, there's really no other way to say it. Just peak loser behavior. So of course Alexia comes in, making it all about herself, saying that she has anxiety about her situation. I said, Alexia, we don't care. We don't care. Alexia takes every opportunity to make it about herself. I said, my God, today, shut up about this. And then the producer asking you, were you with Todd the other night? And she's clearly lying. She's like, oh, no, I wasn't. I swear I wasn't. No, I wasn't. I said, okay, girl, who are you trying to fool? Now, mind you, Stephanie is brand new to this group, and even she's tired of hearing about this whole Alexia and Todd saga, because she says, Alexia, may I just say this without overstepping, but when God takes out the trash, don't go back to the trash. Let Todd go. And of course, Alexia is instantly defensive. She's like, well, that's my lesson to learn and nobody else's. And then she says, I think that Stephanie has crossed the line. You don't even know me and you don't know my husband. I said, well, God forbid a girl give you some sound advice. So Lisa arrives, she pays Larsa dust, and now we find out that Gertie is in New York, so she won't be in attendance. And I said, good for you, Gertie. I wouldn't go either. So we see Julia and Martina arrive. They both look terrible, but what's new? They always look bad. But anyhow, it's time for the baby shower to begin, and we see Adriana started off with a toast to Julia and Martina's boys. Now, the camera flashes to their boys. The babies are adorable. They're 3 and 1, and they are 2 black boys. I'm not understanding how you can be so callous and so evil to Gertie, who is a black woman, to attack her as viciously as you did, and you have the nerve to be out here raising 2 black boys. I think it's a bit alarming, and I'm gonna just leave it right there. Alexia getting up to give that weak speech. I said, girl, sit down. Again, Alexia, it's not always about you. Let Adriana have her moment. That's been her friend for 10 plus years. You getting up to say that, oh, me and Julia have been friends for 3 years now. Girl, stop. Who is this for, Alexia? Them or yourself? Let me know. So now it's time to play some games. The first game is guess what's in the diaper. So we see like chocolate in a diaper. They had beans and lentils in one diaper. They had mustard in one diaper. I said, okay, I guess so. I wouldn't have played the game, but that's just me. So now we go on to the next game. They're playing Truth or Dare. Now, why are we playing Truth or Dare at a baby shower? Does that make sense? But we see Lisa reading one of the cards asking who here has done a threesome in the group. Julia says, I don't do threesomes. And the way Martina put her on blast, she said, yes, you do. You've done them in the past. I said, oh, okay, do tell. Is it just me, or does Julia give you, she'll do anything for a piece of a man, a woman, and $1? Because I was not surprised to hear that she's done a whole bunch of threesomes. So now Larsa picks up a card asking, what's the biggest mistake that you regret? And Larsa, of course, being shady, says that her biggest mistake is being too loyal. So it's obviously a dig at Lisa. If I cared about Lisa and Larsa's beef, I would have some commentary on that statement, but I don't. I have nothing to add. So now the games are over and it's time for lunch. And we see Lisa address Stephanie, and she's like, oh my gosh, Stephanie, the girls have been trying to get us together for a long time. And at first I was like, oh, who is this girl? She's rich. So Stephanie gives a weak laugh, and now Lisa's like, oh, I want to be friends with her because she has a jet, and I only want to be friends with people who have jets and yachts. So, Lisa, some thoughts and some jokes are only meant to be up here. We don't have to say everything that we think out loud. And Stephanie was really taken aback by that. She did not care for that statement because she says, the fact that you want to be my friend because of what I have, that's not cool. Would you still be my friend if I invited you to my farmhouse to eat bull testicles? One thing about me, I cannot stand a social climber. And being somebody who has a platform, I'm encountering that a lot more, and it's very unsettling. People wanting to be around you because of what you have, what they think you have, who you know, what you do. That's very jarring. Like, I don't like that energy. Lisa, I'm sorry, but you're not beating the insufferable allegations. It's giving social climber, it's giving vapid. There's nothing else in your brain, because why would you say that out loud? The first joke about, oh, that girl's rich, that was cute. That was a cute little ha ha he he, but let's move on. Now, these last few minutes of the episode were very chaotic. Lisa gets up to use the restroom. Kiki falls behind her, and we see Lisa venting and bitching about Larsa. So back at the table, Stephanie's asking Larsa how she's feeling. So Larsa's like, when it comes to Lisa and this whole thing, I can't take it anymore. I've sent her nothing but prayers and love during this time. Whoever's telling her otherwise, she needs to be mad at them and not me. So now Alexia jumps in and she's like, well, Larsa, you do have to admit that you were talking badly about Lisa when she was in Canada burying her father. So Larsa's like, no, girl, that's not what happened. You asked me what happened. I told you. Where's the disconnect? So now Lisa comes back and she's like, are you guys talking about me? So you would think that because it's Julia's baby shower, that she wouldn't want any drama. But instead, she's egging the whole thing on. She says, I just have to ask a question. Who in this group knows who told Lisa what happened at Marysol's? So Lisa says, well, I'm not a rat. I'm not going to say anything. And now we have Kiki admit that Gertie was the one that she actually told Lisa what happened at Marysol's reception. I said, Kiki, that's strike two. The fact that you were so eager to throw Gertie under the bus, I said, my God. Unfortunately, Gertie, you don't have an ally in Kiki at all. And the way Gertie was treated, she owes nobody any loyalty. So I didn't feel a way about Gertie telling Lisa what was said about her at Marysol's party. But we end the episode with Lisa crashing out, storming out of the baby shower, and she keeps saying, I'm not trying to make this about me, but I have to leave. And I said, well, it's too late for that, Lisa. You've already made the shower about yourself. But yeah, the baby shower was a complete mess. And Stephanie had me screaming. She was like, what kind of party is this and where's the food? But guys, I had to jump on here and give my 2 cents about this episode because Julia had me so heated. I said, no, ma'am. I cannot let the week go by without giving you guys my thoughts. Now, do I plan on recapping every single episode this season? No, but I will tap into the episodes where I feel like I need to give my commentary. But right now, I'm putting Miami on somewhat of a pause. I'm putting them on ice because I just cannot sit here and watch them exclude and ice Gertie out for the remainder of the season. I just can't do it. But guys, that was my recap. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening on the podcast. And you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.